Coming this month from This is Chicago, it's summer and we're going outside. June's bonus episodes are coming to you from the lake, the river, the park, and an alley. We'll see you there and we'll get back inside next month.
This is Chicago.
Before I became a birder, I can probably count on one hand birds I actually saw. I think of that as really so amazing. And now when I go out with friends, I'll be seeing birds everywhere, and I look at my friends and I can tell they're not seeing anything or hearing anything. In the Harry Potter's books, there's wizards and there's muggles. And the muggles are the people who are not wizards and don't see things. So, I refer to them as bird muggles. People who don't see birds are bird muggles. I started going to Montrose Beach because it's the number one hot spot in Illinois to see birds. It's an amazing place. In the spring of 2019, people started reporting piping plovers. And this is where I'm going to backtrack a little bit, because a couple years earlier, when I was just like a really newbie birder, I was talking to someone and he said, there's a piping plover in Waukegan, at Waukegan Beach. Have you seen it? And I'm like, what's a piping plover? He explained to me that it's an endangered species. They're very rare. And I'm like, well, I need to go see it. So I got in my car, went to Waukegan Beach, and I went a couple times because the first time I did see a piping plover, but very poor views because it was distant, there was haze and so on. But I saw the cutest piping plover ever, and I took a lot of photos. It was great. I mean, these birds are so endearing because they're small, really cute. And I'm really not exactly sure why I kind of started going every day. I was just really intrigued. One day I actually saw 3 at the same time on the beach, and I took photos of them. I kept going back. I was thinking, maybe they'll nest at Montrose. Over the past 20, 25 years, Montrose has been developed to actually attract wildlife and attract birds. And it's become a fantastic bird sanctuary, great diversity. Piping plovers, because they're endangered and there's so few of them, they're banded. You can tell them apart. And people were reporting different bands. So, we started putting together the fact that there was at least 2 or 3 different piping plovers visiting Montrose. So I was corresponding a lot with all kinds of people about these 2 birds. And, I kept referring to their band numbers and colors: silver, blue, orange, green, the numbers, the dots, whatever. It's very confusing when, you're trying to do that in emails and texts. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to refer to the male as Monty and to the female as Rose after Montrose. Piping plovers scrape a nest in the sand. It's really just a little cup in the sand. It would fit in your hand. It's very shallow, but it's clear indication that that's mating behavior. And so I started alerting everyone, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. I mean, these are really endangered species, so it's very important for people to know. I came back the next morning, and they were continuing to scrape nest, and I observed them mating. They had scraped the nest in the middle of the busiest beach in Chicago. I mean, crazy. If they could make it in Chicago at Montrose Beach, then they could probably make it anywhere else. So I'm like, I'm not leaving here until we know we can protect that nest. And so I stood there for 6 hours that first morning, and I was on the phone, and I was able to get other people to come and relieve me and did some shifts. And I came back that evening, and that evening there was the Women's Ultimate Frisbee League that was slated to play exactly where they had put their nest. They couldn't have been nicer. They said, you just tell us what to do and where we can and cannot play. We'll just figure it out. The next day, they had laid their first egg. Once they laid an egg, I mean, they really had everybody's attention. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the Illinois Department of Natural Resources basically roped off an area. The second egg was laid, third egg, fourth egg. Unfortunately, there was a huge storm, and the Fish and Wildlife Service had taken the eggs off the nest. The eggs were taken to the Lincoln Park Zoo, but they didn't make it. So, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, everybody told me Monty and Rose, would never succeed at Montrose. Well, they just moved a little bit further south on the beach, found an area that was higher on the beach. It was actually a much better area, and they nested there. And the nest succeeded. 3 of the 4 eggs from the second nest hatched, and 2 of the 3 chicks survived. And for the first time in 71 years, Chicago and Cook County had fledged piping plover chicks. Monty and Rose fledged 2 chicks, Imani and Shifka. The chicks are just little cotton balls on sticks. They're so cute. They have so much personality. People would just line up 2-3 deep to see them. People just fell in love with them instantaneously. Monty passed away this year. We believe Rose is gone as well because she didn't come back. So, it's emotional. We spent 3 to 4 months a year with them, getting to know them really well. I got very attached to these 2 birds. Imani came back this year, and Imani is the first Montrose hatched chick that came back to Montrose, which is really cool. But he left on July 11, and so we're hoping that he would come back next year, find a cute little gal. They're all cute. And maybe nest with her at Montrose and continue the legacy of his parents.
Hey, it's still summer, so we're staying outside for another week. Next, we head to the river, where crime pays, but botany doesn't.
Give me your stuff.
From Superphonic Studios, this is Chicago. Listen every Sunday.